My name is Cecilia Malmström. I'm Commissioner for Trade and I come from Sweden. The Commission is negotiating trade deals on behalf of the European Union, and we also represent the European Union in WTO, for instance. But before we start to negotiate a trade agreement, we ask for a mandate, and that mandate is given unanimously by the member states, also with input from the European Parliament. And when we negotiate, every time before a negotiation round and after a negotiation round, we report to the Council or their representatives and to the European Parliament. And we also engage with the civil society. For instance, one of the biggest negotiations ongoing right now is an agreement with the United States, TTIP it's called, and we have a big advisory group, and we also engage regularly with the civil society, so it's open, and we try to make negotiations as transparent and engaging as possible. On TTIP, which is the biggest negotiation going on right now, we have published basically all the European texts online, the negotiating positions, the background papers, a lot of reports and references are online for everybody to see. And this is very deliberate because I think transparency is key in order to get acceptance and confidence on these negotiations. We also have stakeholders conferences regularly where everybody can join from the civil society. They just have to register, and then I personally and my staff and DG Trade meet regularly with different stakeholders to report, to inform, and to make sure that those who want to know can follow. Member states have unanimously asked the Commission to negotiate this agreement, 28 member states, so they need also to engage with their citizens, with their parliaments, to answer the questions, to dispel the myths, to take into consideration their concerns. It's important, of course, to liaise with different stakeholders. The member states and the European Parliament, they make their views known on a regular basis. But many stakeholders, for instance, representatives of the trade unions, the business, small and big alike, environmental organizations, consumers organizations, they are very important because they have specific knowledge and they highlight concerns sometimes. Have you thought about this or that? And that is very important because it feeds into the process when we elaborate our negotiating positions, and then we can report back to them. So it's important to have this ongoing negotiations. We might not agree always, but it's important to have a regular dialogue to get the feedback and the knowledge that many people in the civil society has. We try to make sure that not only big but also small business views are taken into account. In fact, more small business views, because they have more difficulties to cope with the obstacles and the hindrances than big business. We are making sure also that issues such as sustainable development, labor rights, consumer rights are there as well, so that people feel that these issues, many people care about that, are also taking into account. A good and fair deal that is good for the consumers, for the workers, for the business in Europe is what we are aiming at, and that's why it is so important to all the time engage and to try to have as an inclusive process as possible. That's the role of negotiation. You can't really move in the cameras into the actual negotiations, but we try to compensate that by doing all the processes as transparent as possible and engaging and showing documents. Also the sensitive documents are shown to an advisory group where, for instance, BEUC is represented and many others, and to a big group of the European parliamentarians. I also visit national parliaments for hearings. They can question me, so that there is a good knowledge of the whole process. Then in the end, of course, there will be a draft to say yes or no. That will have to be adopted by member states and the European Parliament, and the text will be public while the translations are ongoing. But I think there will be very few surprises in the end text. We are trying to make this, as I said, as transparent as possible.